Hey, good morning or afternoon. Welcome, Graze community. Thanks so much for joining this live investor webinar. My name is Justin Williams. I'm an analyst here at Wavemaker Labs, and I'm joined today by Graze CEO John Valle. In a moment, we'll get started. Today, John's going to give an update on Graze's business development and product progress this year, as well as a review of the opportunity for Graze in the commercial landscaping market. Before we get things kicked off, just want to cover a few housekeeping items. Number one, this is an interactive event, so we really encourage you to ask any questions you have during the presentation. You'll see a questions tab in the bottom right corner of your screen. After the presentation, John and I will answer as many questions as we can live, and any that we're unable to get to, we'll follow up via email. In addition, a recording of this webinar will be emailed to all the registrants as well as published on Graze's YouTube channel. Once again, thanks so much for joining us. And now I'd like to turn it over to Graze CEO John Valle.
Hey, thanks a lot, Justin. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody who's tuning into this webinar today. Hope you find it informative of what we're doing at Graze. You can see on the screen, there's a picture of our Graze mower with a 60-inch mow deck. You can see it's pretty hardy, it's pretty big. And let me tell you a little bit about the landscaping industry. I've been in the landscaping industry for over 30 years, working with a landscape company in Northern California, doing both landscape installation and landscape maintenance. So very familiar with both assets of it. Our target market, $100 billion industry target market, is really in four components. Large landscape maintenance companies. There are, $11 billion worth out of the top 100. The number one landscape contractor is over $2 billion. It's a very fragmented market. A lot of smaller shops, owner operators, but we're really going after those contractors that are maintaining large job sites with large lawns. That's really what we're built for. Also, golf courses. We found there's a lot of demand in the golf course industry, not only for utilizing our rotary mowers for the roughs and other areas, but ultimately utilizing real mowers for the fairways. Also, municipalities. We've had a number of conversations with various cities. They're in charge of quite a number of parks, roadway medians, very large areas. Also, dealing with end users. We've been talking to solar fields that have to maintain the grasses and weeds beneath the solar panels to keep the dust down. Cemeteries are, large areas with the in-place horizontal tombstones, and even airports. So bottom line is, any place that has large lawns that have to be mowed on a regular basis, they are our target market. So really one of the main things that we do is, because it's autonomous, there's a huge labor savings. And in the landscape industry, now and for the past, many years, but even more so now coming out of COVID, there's a huge labor shortage. There are just not enough people to fill all the needs. So if you look at the left-hand side, a typical crew might have 4 people on a crew going out every week. 2 of them might be on ride-on mowers or stand-on mowers, push-behind mowers. The other 2 will be doing other tasks like edging, blowing, fertilizing, irrigation repair, etc. So by utilizing Graze mowers, they could conceivably cut that crew down to 2 and or upskill those other 2 for other more higher aspect tasks like irrigation repair, integrated pest management, which would allow them to make more money than sitting on a mower all day. So one of the partners we've worked with, they've shared a lot of their revenue information, their cost information, and they're looking at a labor savings of about 45% of the mowing revenue. So that customer and partner of ours, Mainscape, they shared with us, some of their numbers from 2020, and they say that their labor mowing costs is about 47% of revenue. They look to reduce that to 23% by utilizing Graze mowers. Also, fuel costs. This slide was put together a while ago. So 16% of revenue would go down to 4% utilizing electricity. But we all know what's going on with the price of gas in the last several months. So I've got to imagine that that savings is going to be significantly more rather than using gas, using electricity. Also in 2020, they had 25 drivers that were injured riding or standing behind a conventional gas-powered mower. That resulted in workers' comp payouts of $100,000. Well, robots don't get hurt, and they certainly don't collect workers' comp insurance. So those both go to zero. So currently, they're looking at operating profit on the mowing of about 6%. They see that they could increase that for 43%. And by reducing the cost, it doesn't mean you're just going to put all of that money in your pocket, but it will also allow them to increase their market share by going after other large lawns and still making a significantly better margin than the 6% they're currently experiencing. So just want to introduce our Graze mower. So what we are building, it's electric, so it's very quiet and low maintenance. Anybody that is familiar with electric vehicles know that it's not in the shop every 3 months getting oil changes. You don't have the spark plugs, you don't have all the belts. It's direct drive motors directly to the wheels, directly to the rotary blades, so much less maintenance. And when it's just driving, it's virtually silent. When the blades turn on, it sounds more like a vacuum cleaner rather than that real heavy, throaty noise of a gas-powered mower. So when it's 100 feet away, you can barely hear it, which is great on, say, golf courses that are surrounded by homes, businesses, etc. Also, it's 24/7 operable. By changing out the battery or recharging it, it can run at night, which is also great for highway mowing or golf courses, even at commercial parks where you don't want to have your people there working with the people of those corporations. We're spending a lot of time on the advanced safety protocols. We all know that it's got to be very safe before we put it out to our customers, meaning it can't injure people, it can't damage property. So we're very cognizant of that, and we're spending a lot of time on safety. It's also consistent and precise. So it's very important that it goes back and forth in parallel lines like you're used to seeing, and with about a 4 to 6 inch overlap, so you don't have what we call mohawks with grass standing up between those mowed lines. Also very precise. It can mow anywhere from 1 inch height up to 6 inches of height. And we are also working on the technology to identify the height of the grass before we mow it. It will be able to automatically adjust that mow deck to the proper height, so you're never taking off more than 1/3 of the blade, which is very important horticulturally. It's obviously environmentally friendly. Not only is it electric, not spewing out the fumes of a gas-powered mower, not only is it quiet, reducing noise pollution, but it's also a mulching mower, so it will cut the blades very finely and leave the blades of grass onto the lawn, which helps with nutrients going back into the soil, and you're no longer collecting the grass clippings to haul to your yard to ultimately go to a landfill. So it's very environmentally friendly in several aspects. So this is just to show you some of the aspects of our mower. You can see it's got that 60-inch mow deck out in front. Now we've designed that so as we get it up to 7 miles per hour, it will be able to mow over 3 acres per hour. It's also small enough that it will fit onto a conventional landscape trailer and be able to go from job to job to job. We also are using what are called run flat tires or tweels. Again, these they're not pneumatics. They don't require anybody to fill them up or check on the air pressure, because again, what we're trying to do is make this as human friendly as possible and not requiring people to have to check the air pressure. Also, one of the other things that we're working on is the blades. We're looking at specially coated blades that are self-sharpening, which a normal blade might require sharpening every 10 hours. this would require sharpening every 40 hours of use. So again, the less we can have workers dealing with it, maintaining it, the better. Also, you can see that we've got the mow deck out front, which makes it very easy to lift up, to change out those blades for sharpening. Also, by being out front, it will allow us to put on other attachments besides those rotary blades. A couple other things, it's got localization to draw out the mapping, to create the perimeter map of any area you want to mow within, and to set up the lines going north, south, east, west, or however you want it to mow. Also, it's got a computer. There's a lot of electronics going on here. The computer deals with the mapping, with the mowing, obstacle detection, obstacle avoidance. So it's not just a smart mower, it's a computer that can mow lawns. So there's a lot of other things we can dial into this. Like I said, safety is huge for us. We're working on the Graze vision. You can see how it boxes out the trees out in the out beyond, and if an animal like this dog runs out in front of it, it'll detect an obstacle. It will stop the mower from advancing. It will turn off the blades until that obstacle leaves its path of mowing. Now, let's say that obstacle is not going to move. You're mowing a park that you've been mowing every week, and there's a windstorm, drops a branch, it comes up to that branch, it detects it. Obviously, that branch isn't going to walk away. So after a few seconds, if it sees that it's not moving, so it can proceed normally, it will send a ping back to a foreman or an operator to say at this location they had to stop mowing, but they will then mow around that branch to continue mowing. So that way it will continue mowing the rest of the park, and another crew will have to come back, remove that branch, and mow the area that was avoided. So like I said, it's a smart lawnmower. So that gives it the opportunity to do scheduling, demand forecasting. You'll be able to see if you've got a soccer field, is it 50% done mowing? Is it 80% done mowing? You'll also be able to sync into the local weather station. So if you're ready to go out and that day you're expecting thunder showers or heavy rain, it will give you an alert to say, hey, you probably don't need to go out today. You shouldn't go out to go into a dangerous situation. And by fleet management, we see that many companies are going to have several of these mowers in their fleet, so they'll be able to see where they're located, how much time is left, and send somebody to go pick it up just at the right time when it's finished with its job. We're also working on a user interface, so you can control this mower either from a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. You can see on this that 6 hours, 35 minutes remaining of the battery, running at 5 miles per hour, cut height of 1.2 inches. We've actually made a lot of advances since this. Originally, we had to map out the perimeter by remote controlling the mower around that perimeter. And once we've mowed it and it memorizes it, you never have to do that again. It will memorize the map, and once you get it within there, it will go ahead and mow. But we've also created a way where, utilizing, say, a tablet and a Google map, you can use your finger to kind of pinpoint the edges that you want it to mow to, and you can create that perimeter, that outer perimeter, on a Google map. Much faster, cleaner, smoother than remote controlling it around the perimeter. So this is our Graze version 3. This is our most current version. You can see at the top, little chimney, that is the Lidar. That allows the mower to see obstacles around it and to make sure it's free and clear to move forward and mow without hitting any obstacles. Also, there's a couple of red buttons on top. Those are e-stops, emergency stops, which we hope we never have to use, but they're there just in case. So this gives you an idea of what the mower sees through the Lidar. So it's sending out waves of light, and it bounces back if those waves are interrupted to create a vision of what you're seeing. So you can see a lower left-hand corner, there's a person standing there. So you can see their feet, their ankles, their calves, and then above that, it just becomes kind of displaced points of light. Also, you can see somebody upper left-hand corner kind of walking towards it. And we also put some soda cans all the way around the perimeter and behind it, just to see, how the detection is, how small it can detect. And it's very great technology. And that technology is being utilized in electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles. So the cost of that continues to go down as the performance continues to improve. So I want to talk to you about some of our first customers. Like I said, Mainscape has been one of our partners for a long time. They've pre-ordered 200 mowers. They see what we're doing. They're excited to get these. We're actually working with them on a job site in Central California, where we have been working for many months, mowing parks, soccer field, community centers. So we are proving out the case to them on one of their very large projects. Also, we've announced this recently, Sundale Country Club, a golf course in Bakersfield, California. We've been going to every Monday, as they're closed on Mondays for maintenance and repair. So that's they've pre-ordered 10 mowers for their golf course. I also want to show not only how important it is here in the U.S. and the excitement we're seeing in the U.S., but internationally. Skyline Landscape Services, they're out of Sydney, Australia. They pre-ordered 50 mowers. PSD Grounds Care, they're a very large distributor and a dealership in the UK. They've pre-ordered 70 mowers, which will fit on 2 containers. They want to get started with that. They're very excited. So just a few more updates. Like I said, we've recently announced the pilot at Sundale Country Club. We've also been going to events since last October. We went to the Long Beach Expo, the GIE, which is a large national expo in Louisville, Kentucky. And actually on our way to Louisville, we stopped by CVG. It's a major airport in Cincinnati, northern Kentucky, where we performed a demo for them. You can see there, the grass was about 8 inches tall. It was damp. It was early in the morning, yet it mowed it down to the appropriate length and just kept going. They were so impressed with it. They want to start a paid pilot program with us, which we're hoping to get to later this year. We just want to get more hours under our belt in Southern California, where our engineers are, before we're going to have it go 2,000 miles across the country. Also, just last month, we went to the GCSAA, which is the Golf Course Superintendents Association Expo in San Diego, California. Those distributors from the UK actually flew out to San Diego to go to an event like this, as well as to see a demo that we performed for them in Southern California. So they're very excited with what we're doing. They can see the progress we're making, and they're very eager to get those 70 mowers. Also, we've been really focused on pilots. So we've got some other very important pilots that we'll be announcing within the next month. We've got paperwork involved with one city that we're just going through the insurance requirements. Expect to have that wrapped up this week. Also dealing with another large golf course in Southern California, and some other ones as well. So the pilots right now is the main thing that we're doing to get a lot of hours under our belt, so the engineers can see what they've tested and what they're developing works out in real world conditions. And then we expect those pilots to become paid pilots as we're able to demonstrate the cost savings to cities, golf courses, parks, etc. And so we do expect to get paid pilots later this year. And so just to give you an update of how we're paying for all this, we've been doing crowdfunding, closed our last round June 30th, 2021. We raised over $9.2 million from over 6,400 investors. We are currently doing another crowdfunding campaign. We've extended that Series A round starting November 15th. And our target is to raise $5 million on the Wax crowdfunding platform. So one, I want to thank all of you for being on this webinar. I hope you like what you see, you're intrigued by the investment opportunity. You go to our grazemowing.com website and ultimately invest on Wax. If you've already invested, one of those 6,400 investors, I hope you'll consider investing more. We need that funding to continue our progress and to ultimately build the future of the landscape world. Just a little bit about ourselves and the leadership team. Like I said, I've been in the landscape industry for over 30 years. Sold my company to a private equity-backed landscape roll-up, which then gave me the opportunity to work with Graze. It's been a great experience. I love what we're doing because I know it's going to revolutionize the landscape industry, and all the people we talk to, they know it's coming as well. Martin Bueller, he's our head of engineering. The guy is just a brilliant roboticist. Studied at MIT. He's worked at Disney Imagineering. Also, he worked on the robotic dog project, which was started by the Marines. It's basically a robotic animal that can carry packs in tough terrain. They've developed it to the point where you may have seen some of the YouTube videos of robots jumping rope, dancing. It's amazing what robots can do, and he's been on the cutting edge ever since the beginning. Also, Josh Weinberg, he works with Wavemaker, business strategy and operations. He's great because he really comes from the technology side and the startup side. I come from the landscape side. We have very good discussions on our strategies for going to market, for doing crowdfunding, and ultimately developing the product to create a great user experience of our customers. So talk a little bit about Wavemaker. They're our lead investor. They've got Wavemaker Partners, which is a venture capital firm, which they've got over 500 million assets under management. And they've provided the seed money to get us going with our first prototypes and to ultimately get us launched on the crowdfunding we've been doing ever since. But the great thing is they've also got Wavemaker Labs, which is a robotic incubator, which allows us to utilize the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, battery experts, product management, everything we need as we've been getting started. And we're able to share those with some of their other companies like Miso Robotics, Pystro. And so we've come a lot further because of the experience, expertise of Wavemaker Labs. So just talking a little bit about our milestones. Back in December 2020, we did our first in-field testing. This was with our partner Mainscapes. And then summer of 2021, we deployed our first mowers with those early pilots at Sundale, as well as that large project in Central California. And our next, we're looking to do the rollout of paid pilots. So we're right now gathering a lot of data for our engineers. We're proving out the concept to our potential customers. And we are ultimately this year going to approach them. And they all know that we're going to be doing this, charging them for the services we provide as we begin our go-to-market strategy. So just in summary, we've got over $32 million in pre-orders. 2/3 of that is from recurring revenue, which is the SaaS, the software as a service. It's a proven industry team of both landscaping and robotics experience. I think you can see we've got a very robust prototype, very hardy out in the field, and led by a very experienced technical team. We've got the Wavemaker advantage, both from the funding as well as the roboticists and engineers, and we've raised over 9.2 million. And with your help, we expect to raise the 5 million early this year. So with that, I want to thank everybody and turn it back over to Justin for some Q&A.
Thanks very much, John. We've got some really great questions in here, so I'm just going to get right into it. First, several questions about folks interested in purchasing Graze mowers. John, is there a place where folks can submit their information if they're interested in buying a mower in the future?
Absolutely. You can go to info@grazemowing.com. You can send us an email. It's important, if you're a landscape contractor or you're involved with landscaping, how many mowers you could see yourself using over the next, say, 18 months. So whether it's, 5, 10, 20, 100, we can get that idea going and we can get in touch with you. Now, those early LOIs, that was based on pricing we came up with 3 years ago at $30,000 plus $1,000 a month in the SaaS. Well, we all know what's been going on with inflation, with the parts shortage, supply chain. So we know all the parts are going up. So we know too that the cost of the mower is going to go up accordingly. But ultimately, we want to do what's best for the customer. So we may even go to a higher SaaS fee and reduce the cost of the mower, almost to the point where it's a rental, so that you're paying all a monthly fee and you're not having to purchase the mower. So those are some of the things we're going to be working out as we're working with our pilot partners to get, and also with our LOI partners to see, what makes sense for you. Do you want to buy this and own it outright and pay us a monthly SaaS? Would you rather we own it, we maintain it, we keep it going, and you pay a larger monthly fee? So we've got a lot of options, but it's really good if you're interested in this. Get in touch with us at info@grazemowing.com. We can continue that conversation. We can keep you apprised of when it will be available in your area. We will start rolling it out in Southern California, where we're based, because we want the first mowers out there to be close to our engineering team. But thank you very much for your interest. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, John. A question here from Bryce. What are one or two strategies you plan on implementing to manage and align organizational growth with product demand?
So yeah, that's a great question. And I think early on as we're building out the mowers, right now we're building them at our facilities in Los Angeles, El Segundo, right next to LAX. And we already know that the demand far outstrips our ability to supply it. So that's why we're really focused on that customer experience, so that the first mowers we do deploy, we learn from those pilot partner customers so that they're getting the greatest experience possible. So the other great advantage of Wavemaker Labs is we're working with a contract manufacturer. It's got over 20 years of experience. Just next week, we're going to be meeting with one of these contract manufacturers. So we're able to leverage the manufacturing of our mowers with with some of the other robotic machines that they're also building. So right now I see that the pinch point is being supply of the mowers, but the demand is definitely there. So that's where we're really going to have to focus, is scaling production to meet demand.
Awesome. Thanks, John. A question here about the competitive landscape for automated mowing. We've seen a lot of companies interested in this space, other startups. Can you give us an idea of the differentiators for Graze and how you see the landscape for automated mowing?
Absolutely. That's a great question. And I first learned about robotic mowers 3 years ago when I went into my local lawnmower shop to get my personal lawnmower serviced. And there was a sign that said, "Ask me about robotic mowers." So I did. And the answer that came back was, hey, they're really big in Germany and they're starting to take hold in the US. Well, those robotic mowers were kind of the Roomba type, where you have to put in a guide wire around the perimeter and it would mow around, but it was in random patterns. Right then and there, I could see the potential. I said, man, if somebody could create a mower large enough for commercial use, go back and forth in parallel lines, like you're used to seeing, then, and big enough, they would have something there. Well, shortly thereafter, I met Buck Jordan of Wavemaker Partners, and I knew that they were building a commercial lawnmower. So that's how I got involved with them. So early on, the robotic mowers were the smaller Roomba type mowers. They're still out there. They're good for residential, smaller properties that they can mow maybe an acre in 8 hours. But we're going after a totally different market, mowing over 3 acres per hour. And there is competition there. There are some other robotic mower companies out there. I've served on a robotic experts panel a couple months ago with some of our competitors to also draw out some of the differences. Well, some of those robotic mowers are using gas-powered mowers. Well, in California, Governor Newsom declared that January 1st, 2024, you can no longer sell gas-powered mowers, blowers, or edgers. So we're already way ahead of the curve developing electric. So that's one thing that sets us apart. Another thing that sets us apart is some of these other robotic mowers, they have the ability to operate it by standing on it. And when we were doing the development, I said, look, I want this to be totally autonomous. I don't want anybody to stand on it, sit on it, or have anything to do with it other than through their iPhone or their tablet. So I think that's something else that sets us apart. Another thing is we've got our mow deck out in front. Some of them have it, underneath the chassis. There's pros and cons to both, but I felt the pro really outweighed being out in front because right now we've got a rotary mower, but we can easily switch that attachment to a reel mower, which goes like this, which is great for fairways. Also at that golf course show that I went to, we can go ahead and buy them right now, 22-inch wide reel mowers. We can put 3 of those out in front of the mower and we can start mowing fairways just as soon as we want to pivot to that next change. Also, since we've been mowing driving ranges, we can put a ball picker out in front to pick up the golf balls at the driving range. So we've already memorized the area to mow. We can use that same mapping to go pick up balls. And one of the golf courses we're talking to now, they're very eager for us to use the ball picker, use the reel mower, use the rotary mowers. And that would save a lot of money. A golf course spends over $850,000 a year in maintaining a golf course. A large portion of that is labor. So I think the other thing that really sets us apart from the other larger robotic mowers like what we're building is we're doing the crowdfunding. So not only is this a way for us to get money to pay our engineers to make the developments that we're doing, it's also a great way of advertising. A large portion of the people that have invested in our company are landscapers. Many of them have put in pre-orders. They know that what we're doing is coming. They want to be a part of it. The great thing about crowdfunding, which is relatively new, it allows anybody, any everyday Joe to be able to invest in a startup company. Before you had to be an accredited investor with resources of over $1 million. So that's how the rich got richer. Now we're really appealing to everyday people. For just $998, you can start buying shares of Graze, and you can look at our progress. And with raising $5 million now, we expect to do another round later in the year at a higher valuation. So that's probably the one thing that really sets us apart. Some of the other companies are venture capital backed, which means they've got people sitting on their board, sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 venture capital firms. They may not all be in alignment. The other thing, because we're developing our own hardware and our own software, it makes our patent that much stronger. There are companies that are doing the autonomy piece where they're building out the autonomy and putting it onto an existing mower. Well, the problem then is their sales channel is really dependent upon that mower manufacturer. So we're looking at creating the mower, the hardware, the software, the intellectual property, and making it available to anybody that wants to invest in our company. And we welcome it. It just shows that the other companies, the companies that are getting involved in robotics, proves out what we've known all along. It's a huge market, plenty of room for other companies. When we were at the GIE in Louisville, Kentucky, there were 37 manufacturers of gas-powered mowers. And these were all either sit-on mowers, stand-on mowers. They all look pretty much the same other than painted different colors. So, not only do you have Toro, Exmark, John Deere, all the big boys, you've got very many regional players. So the industry's huge, plenty of room for many companies. We're just looking at being one of the first and the best and focused on the customer experience.
Thanks, John. Yeah, you're covering a lot of information that's being asked in a couple of other questions here. This one's kind of interesting from Fred. How does the time requirements for Graze stack up against a manned mowing team? So let's say if you compare a Graze mowing a golf course with a traditional landscaping crew, is there a difference in the amount of time it would take Graze, or is that around the same?
Yes, that's a great question. And when I was at Jensen Landscape Services and we were bidding large lawn areas, be it cemeteries or a very large park with the city of Sacramento, we were looking at what's the cost of the mower, what's the speed of the mower, what's the width of the mow deck, and they're all different. We ended up buying a 10-foot wide wide angle mower for the Sacramento job, and it could be going 10, 12 miles an hour and cut a lot of grass really fast. But there was a big capital expenditure. We had to have an A licensed driver to transport it from job to job. And so you can, right now, there's so many mowers out there. You can get a smaller mower and get less hours or less acres per hour. So we've felt that, by having this, one of the largest mowers you can fit on a conventional trailer, 60 inches wide, going at 7 miles per hour, which is very manageable to allow for a really good cut. If you go too fast, you're not going to get a real good cut. So there's an optimal point of speed and width. So we think we're very comparable to any other 60-inch mower. And so, but the big advantage is you don't have a person sitting on it 6, 7, 8 hours a day. That person can be doing other chores, doing hedging, irrigation repair, blowing, etc. And the way I see this too is a landscape contractor will be able to disassociate the lawn care with everything else. So it might make the most sense, based on the growth of the grass, to mow every 5 days rather than every 7 days, because it's growing very fast. In the summer, if it's going semi-dormant, maybe you're going every 10 days. So by doing the landscape mowing, the edging, the blowing, you do that when the grass needs it, not just going every week because that's what you've always done. And now the other landscapers, maybe they only need to go every other week to do the hedging or the mulching, etc. So there's a lot of different ways to ultimately save labor and create a better landscape product for the end customer by going autonomous.
Okay, awesome. And then several more questions here, sort of related to the unit economics for Graze. John, in terms of coming up with pricing, cost, and that kind of thing, what has to happen before the Graze team can start putting a sticker on their mowers?
You mean a price tag on their mower?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what we're working towards now. And as far as kind of the unit economics, I come at this as a landscape contractor, CEO of a company, landscape maintenance. It's, kind of, I see these things are running around. That's great. But until you can demonstrate to me that me owning and operating or paying for on a monthly basis a autonomous mower, and that is going to be less expensive than my 60-inch gas-powered, manually operated mower, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing until you can prove that you can save me money. And so we know that what we're doing will save on the labor costs. It'll save on the fuel costs. It'll save on the workers' comp insurance. So we're going to price it such that it's going to save money from a conventionally used gas-powered mower. And as we take our pilots from a pilot to a paid pilot, we're going to find the, where that ability is. I'd initially had a conversation with a good friend of mine, worked with me at Jensen. Now he's at a very large landscape company. And I said, conceptually, if we can go out there and mow your fields for 80% of what you're currently your current cost is, would that work for you? He said, man, can you start next week? We underbid a cemetery job and we're underwater. So believe me, I know the concept will work. And because we're going to have a limited number of mowers to begin with, as we're trying to catch up to that demand, we're going to make sure that we're, just below, maybe it's at 90%. We're going to maximize our revenues and our profitability and proving out the case, because the more money we make, the more mowers we can create and manufacture to fulfill the demand. So our early pilot partners and our first customers, they're going to be saving money compared to a gas-powered manually operated mower, but they're also going to be helping us fund the growth and longevity of the company. And certainly as more competition comes in, there's going to be pricing pressure on our mowers. So like everything, things may come out more expensive, but then they'll ultimately get less expensive. Again, as we scale, as we make more mowers, we'll get better pricing on the batteries, on the motors, on the wheels, etc.
Excellent. Hey, John, thanks so much. We've got time for one more question here. This one also from Bryce. Are you planning to manufacture in the US or abroad? And how much can the cost come down based on the economies of scale? In general, like how does manufacturing, the scale of manufacturing figure into the upcoming plans for Graze?
Yeah, so right now a lot of mowers are either manufactured or assembled in the Midwest. A lot of these have come out of the farming industry, agricultural. So that's where you've got a lot of manufacturers. So as we're looking to sub out our like our Modex or some of those things, it might make sense to go to a manufacturer that's already doing that and have them make our parts. We would love to do it, do all the manufacturing in the United States, but we also want to keep the price down. We've had conversations that there's a very good manufacturing ability in Mexico, very close to us, won't be bogged down by, some of the shipping problems. A lot of the products do come out of China, the batteries, the Lidar, a lot of the components. So, it's a global company. We'll be buying from all over the world, various components. We ultimately want to manufacture it as close to home as possible, but we're going to do what's, in the best interest of the shareholders and keeping the price down for our customers. Does that, and as far as economies of scale, so right now we're building, onesie twosies as we're still developing it. We've just recently gone from a manually operated mow deck where you have to manually lift and lower it for the cut heights, where now we can do it on our tablet to raise and lower it autonomously or remotely. At some point, hopefully soon, it'll be able to detect the height of the grass and automatically do that. So we're continuously making improvements both to the hardware and the software. So we haven't really dialed down the BOM cost yet because we're still making tweaks to it. But as far as the economies of scale, and this is where it is so handy working with the contract manufacturer and also his connections with the people we'll be meeting with next week, is the more we build, the economies of scales go down because you're buying in bulk, you're shipping containers of batteries rather than crates of batteries. Kind of the rule of thumb I've heard is whatever our current cost to assemble, to buy the materials and assemble now, that as we go to scale, that price should drop to 50% of what it is, plus or minus 10%. So it could be anywhere 40 to 60% of what we're currently spending. So we're looking to take advantage of all of the economies of scale to really grow this company going forward. So, hey, Bryce, thank you for your questions. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar. If anybody's asked questions, you come up with other questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@grazemowing.com. And certainly follow us as this crowdfunding campaign continues. And I hope everybody on here will invest in this company. So with that, Justin, I just want to, thank you for hosting this and everybody for listening for the past 45 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.